Ousmane Diomande. Now, just on this, people will get a few things about the system. He has been the one that's most recently linked with being a potential Konate replacement, because we all wait with bated breath on Konate's contract and what's going to happen. He's young, he's 21, so that comes into the mix as well. A few of you, I'm sure, in the chat panel, it's going to come up, going to be shouting AFCON in January, so I know that comes into the mix at the same time. But for this, there really ain't any centre-back names sticking around, are they? Diomande seems the only one that's linked to any noteworthy reports at the moment. So I am intrigued to say, you'd feel it might be a bit of a project, but I don't know if he's ready now. But what did the stats say about Diomande right now?
So we go playing time, right? Bearing in mind the kid, and he is a kid, he's 21, right? 21, 188 days. So he's this side of 21, yeah. He's played over 3,000 minutes for a 21-year-old. There is some data out there that if you do that too often, you will have a massive fall off, right? So just to be wary of that. If you play too many minutes at that age without graduated improvements, you can have a big fall off, but that's mainly in forwards. So, but I just putting that out there. In terms of addition to the team, bit of a weird one here, because in terms of XG per 90 plus or minus, he's adding on, but when he's on off, they decrease. But he's a defender, so you might expect that, but that's still a bit odd. You look at team success as well. On off, it actually get worse when he's on the pitch. It's a bit of a strange mix there in what is happening with him as a player. So we'll just park that in a kind of a kid kind of a territory at the moment. If you look at aerials, you and I always talk about that for centre halves. 70, just below 70 this season. So in terms of aerial ability, he's probably one of the better ones we've profiled actually for a while. Maybe the lad at Borussia Dortmund who did his knee. It's the only one I can remember recently who had a higher aerial win rate than this lad. So that's a good thing to have for a centre half. What's he doing in possession? Carrying the ball? No, not so much. Taking on his touches. Not defensive third and middle third is where he's having it. So he's not really progressing the ball. He's not looking to do anything else with it apart from being in his defensive areas, which, okay, centre half, that's fine. If you look at, not defensive action, I'm just going to look at pass types, which is up here. If we look at his short, medium, long, so short game, he completes at 94%. He attempted about 20 passes a game, so that's good. Medium, 96. Again, double the amount of short. That's better for a centre half. Long, he's picked a couple of pings in the back pocket, just short of 6 a game with a 73 pass completion. So a good range. And you need your centre halves to be able to play that ball, right? You need them to be able to do that. Otherwise, we won't be able to build from the back. I'm not saying he's going to be a Franz Beckenbauer, but he seems to have got a range of passing on him, which is good. Not what I'm looking at shooting because he is a centre back. So if we go back to our usual, we look at a lovely percentage. So defensively, I have to be honest, I would have expected it to be slightly better. Aerials, 71st percentile. Okay, good. Happy with that. We're okay with that. Blocks and clearances. The blocks, maybe not. We want our fullbacks to be doing that. So, okay, we can deal with that. And clearances, he's playing for a dominant side. You'd expect them not to do a lot of that. So that's fine. Interceptions, 50 percentile, and tackles, 40th. So he's not tackling, which again, we didn't really want our centre halves doing, but you'd still want a little bit more in interception. So some interesting defensive stats, but the key one there that they definitely will be looking at is aerials. That's just something that we need to do. So touch in the penalty box. He actually has quite a 96 percentile, so it's nearly 2 a game for a centre half, which is quite interesting. Doesn't pass it, as we said, not progressive passer, not a progressive carrier. Doesn't take players on, doesn't receive the ball progressively. but he's happy to make a pass. Yeah, so his pass attempt is 96th percentile, and his pass completion is 90th percentile. So he passes the football. He's just not going to give you very often the splitting passes that Van Dijk can do. Which, to be honest with you, if Van Dijk's doing that, you don't need your other lad doing that. As long as your other lad finds the other players, you're okay, right? It's a combination, all right?
And they're high percentages as well. So if he's cycling,
if he's just able to find Mac, find S6, find Mo, that's fine. Yeah, Van Dijk can do all your long switches and your diags and the rest of it. That's absolutely fine. We don't normally judge a centre half by stuff in the box, but shot creating actions 85th percentile, non-penalty goals 81st, and shots total 97 for a centre half. So clearly goes up set plays and is a threat, should we say?
Yeah.
Comparing him, I don't know. I've got Konate now, which is poor from me. There we go. So comparing him to Konate, lot of similarities. Not going to lie to you. The red is Konate for those who are watching it back. So Konate's got more assists, which might shock you, given that Konate isn't known for his assists, or tells you what you need to know about Diomande. But in terms of the passing wise, Diomande is better than Konate. Okay, that's good. He's a bit higher. Touches and percentage dribblers tackled, he's better. But Konate scored more goals. But everything else is kind of the same sort of shape. So they could be profiling something very similar to Konate. You do have to take into account Portuguese tax. Same applies to defenders as a forward. So 0.82, so a little bit different. We look at his dashboard. He plays in the centre for Sporting. I was looking up, particularly in this game. So he's controlling these areas here. If you look at his the network around him in terms of passing, that's short. Yeah, the only long ones are out to that's a medium pass out to one of the six, which is an 8 for them. But there aren't many really long passes from him. Okay, but that's fine. They're all accurate. They're all kind of a medium level of threat, so that's fine. In terms of where he is, it doesn't really do a lot of the passes into zone 14 and half spaces. That's fine. You'd expect that. He's involved in every level of chain, which is good. Right. Yeah. So he's there to help recycle. He's there for a short, sharp start of attack and everything in between. So that's some good stuff to be seen from his ability on the ball, which, let's be frank here, we need our defenders to be able to play football, right? Konate can play football. They can't just be a brute force. Kyriakos, who came in 1 year, wasn't it? Who just a defender. Yeah. If you look at percentage of EPV, now he's created here nearly 5% of the team's EPV, which is not bad for centre half, right? That's pretty good, really. What's he doing? What's he stopping the other way? Stopped 67%, which is a little bit disappointing, given that EBU finished our season as the highest ranked defender for stopping EPV at 90%. So he'd be a notch down from that, should we say? Where does he create threat though? And he is this is his area here. So that is 59% of his threat created from the middle two zones, which if you look at the total for Sporting for this game, he's in and around 6, maybe bordering on between 6 and 10% for the team from a central area, right? So that would be good. That's not a bad place to be, should we say? In terms of defensive actions, you'll see he's drifting out to the left half space. He's starting places in the middle, but he drifts out to the left, which means he takes care of about 9% of his team's defensive actions in his area. And then I should imagine when he's trapped over here, it's an emergency, which is about 1%. So XG, you're not going to expect him to show up. I think he took one shot. There you go. And we'll find out where that shot was from. I know he didn't take any shots. So there you go. I think overall, a profile similar to Konate is fair to say. You have to take the La Liga tax the Superliga in Portugal tax into account. His passing looks to be up to the level we required, although more safer, not going to give you the high end stuff. has had some joy in the penalty box on set plays. I would imagine that's how he's got the shot connections high. And generally positionally plays in the middle. So he's used to a 3, which might be not a problem, but just something to consider when he's going to come and play in a 2. So but overall, 21. You're going to tell me what the fee is, but could be interesting. He's not the guy who's just gone to Real Madrid, like Bournemouth, right?
Yeah,
that's different level. But could be interesting.
Yeah, it does feel different to Huijsen, that Diomande, when you look at him, has those more, I'd call it behemoth-like tendencies, like Konate, as in powerful in the air, not going to progress it too well, but retains it very well, moves it around. So those are a couple of things to consider. The age, very young, similar to Huijsen at the same time as well. Probably the big thing, and you mentioned fee there, because there's conflicting reports, because one thing that's unanimous, the release clause for Diomande seems to be 67 million, but a lot of the reports say that, and again, there's other Premier League clubs, Chelsea, Arsenal, even Crystal Palace have come up recently. The talk is around the £51 million mark. If you look at a few reports, they're out there as well. And again, as we know, and it's not being derogatory, the Portuguese clubs, they like to put in a good release clause, fatten these players up, try and sell them for that max release clause. And it's then how close can they get to that element as well. Got to mention it again. AFCON would be in the mix for this player as well. It's difficult at the moment because there's not a lot of, I think, good centre-halves on the market. There's not a lot that you can get your hands on. And I think Huijsen would have been more, Bart, if he didn't have the release clause. I think that 50 million release clause was why Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea and Real Madrid were ultimately in the end. So if it was around the 50 million-ish mark, now I'm hoping, and obviously we're all hoping, that Konate renews, but we've got a big concern about this, and quite rightly. Thoughts if Diomande was the one they steered into to come in this summer?
It looks like he's a very similar profile to Konate, right? But a younger version. His aerial ability, I mean, that's kind of where we need it to be, right? You fundamentally have to defend both boxes. You have to defend your own box, and you have to be threat there, and you have to pass the football. So he looks to be able to do that. For 50 million quid for a centre half who's played in Europe, played Champions League. I don't think that's too bad. I think he was injured the last game for Sporting, or came off 25 minutes. So you'd have to check his injury record, whether that was going forward. I was just comparing him with another player I looked at, which is Gay at Palace. A very different player, actually, Gay. But yeah, I think the problem is, like you've alluded to, the forwards, there's not a lot of quality forwards out there, right? And I actually don't think there's a lot of centre halves at the price point we want to pay.
Yeah,
you know, if you like, I've listened to you the other day with Trevor, and you were saying, if we have to end up selling Konate, it's not our market, because clubs know that we want to get rid of him because he's not signed a contract, right? So you're unlikely to get the top value money that you should be getting for Konate. So you then got to replace Konate with someone near the same ability but for less money. So that's where Diomande signing makes a lot of sense, because you're taking a gamble that you could upscale his performance levels.
Yeah,
I'm a bit nervous about him starting for us. Not gonna lie to you.
Yeah,
but I haven't got the physical data in terms of how quick he is, because that would be something else we knew about Huijsen. We knew that he wasn't slow, because Konate's ability to cover ground is phenomenal and helps us out in that end. So yeah, does he profile like Konate? Yes. Does he give us the aerial presence? Yes. Could he be a big physical presence defensively? Sure. It's just whether I think it'd probably be a bit risky. I think it'd be a risk, but then you're probably going to get a risk with anyone replacing Konate, because he's had a phenomenal season. So unless you want to go and blow a lot of money on it, I think you might have to accept a lower level. He's better than Kwanzaa, which is a bit harsh on that, but I'm just saying it's probably better. So yeah, I think for me, he profiles like Konate. I could see why they would pay it. Yeah, let's hope we don't have to pay it.
And if we look, people, I'm just looking here on the UEFA site, it does have his top speed in the Champions League of 34.29 km. So not too dissimilar to Huijsen in that regard from a pure speed. And in terms of injury as well, he missed 4 games, it says, on Transfermarkt for Sporting. So not bad overall. Again, though, it's a bit like Bart's. Doesn't mean it's not, we don't talk in terms of just good or bad because we're not 12 years old here, but there's a fair few things to consider around Diomande, people. And there we go. Ramos could be a money ball. It might not get everyone's headlines, but I wouldn't dismiss it straight away. Gyökeres, many of you will be shouting like in the chat panel about like, this is the one. However, there are a few red flags. There are a few things to consider, as we hopefully outlined on this. And Diomande, and talented centre-half, aerially dominant as well, profiles very much like Konate. However, are we wanting to spend anywhere between 50-odd to 67 million release clause? That's probably a different discussion altogether that the people with the laptops will be having. But there we go, ladies and gents. 3 more. We'll see if anything develops with these in transfer window 2. Now that transfer window 1, if we want to call it that, has now shut. All it leaves me to say as ever is Bart, for the time, the analysis, for giving us those thoughts. It is much appreciated.
No worries, anytime.
And ladies and gents, that was another Transfer Market Metrics for Anfield Index.